Things that have ruined gaming. My opinion, of course. Look, I said this was my opinion, so you Kens and Karens, mind y'all's business. And no, you may not speak to my manager. They not here. And even if they were here, there's nothing they can do about it. I run this. What the heck? But usually I'm doing a gameplay video, but since there's nothing I want to play at the moment, I decided that I wanted to annoy people like you, the viewer, by ranting about something. Yup, you tell him, Donnie. Donnie from the Wall of Thornberries always has the right words to say. I wouldn't ask him for no financial help though, cause he look like he's struggling himself. He ain't even got no clothes, so unless you want to be homeless, I doubt that he can help you financially. But I've been gaming for about 28 years now, and it has its pros, but it also has its cons, and that's what I want to talk to about today, the cons. And when I say cons, I'm not talking about a con or convicts. I'm talking about things that are wrong with gaming. I got some Vampire Survivors going in the background. I know I'm late to the party, but I just started playing this game and I'm having more fun than I thought. But this isn't about Dracula right now. It's about this rant. But yo, even though it's not about Dracula, make sure we be nice to Dracula. I don't want him sending Nosferatu after me, Count Chocula, or those vampires from Sinners after me. I ain't messing with them. But the question I want to ask is, what are some of the things that have ruined gaming? Besides the fact that Xbox just went up $100 in price and games becoming $80. Of course, this is completely subjective, and it's fine if you agree or disagree with what I have to say. Ken, Karen, I'm talking about you. But for me personally, things that have ruined gaming are cheaters, followers, lack of passion, and updates.
What the fuck?
I know what you're thinking. Updates. What the heck are you talking about? Chill. Let me explain. Dang, I just started the video, alright? Relax. But before I talk about updates, let's talk about the other ones first. You acting like you got somewhere to be. You ain't got nowhere to be. Just sit there, grab you a snack, and we'll get to it. So the first one we're going to talk about are cheaters. Yeah, the Call of Duty aimbot user. I'm talking about you. Cheaters, they be making me laugh though, because they be cheating and then have the nerve to say that someone else sucks. Nah, that's the equivalent of a woman with makeup calling someone ugly, knowing damn well she looks like Princess Fiona, the Shrek version, without all that graffiti on her face. I just never understood why people had to cheat while gaming. I mean, I love winning as much as the next sweaty gamer, but I've never resorted to cheating. At least not online. I may use some cheat code on GTA or something, but playing online against other people, nah, I never resorted to cheating. Probably because I'm the best. Nah, I'm just playing. Look, I'm just a casual gamer. I'm not trying to compete at a high level or anything. If I can get there, that's cool. But when I play games, I just like to have fun. You know what I'm saying? If you suck at a game, just hold your L and continue to suck until you get better. Wait, what? Pause, alright? Pause. What I meant to say is, if you suck at a game, just get better, alright? Just get better. Moving on to followers. This might just be me, but the meta annoys me in certain games. Look, I understand wanting to have the best sniper class in Call of Duty or that OTK deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it shows lack of creativity. Look, I love playing card games. In fact, I just started playing the Pokemon TCG Live, and I've always created my own deck. I never went online to see what decks people were using or copy the championship deck list. I never did any of that. I always created my decks from scratch. In fact, I just created a Melmetal, Archaludon, and Metang deck from scratch, and it's been slapping hoes. Here's my deck list, you know what I'm saying, if anybody want to check it out. But I swear, if I see any of you use this deck, I'd be flattered, I'm not gonna lie. But the problem is that people just look up the best decks and whatever champions are using and copy their strategies. Lame. I have never, in any type of game, copied someone's deck profile, their gun loadout, or any other type of setup. As a true gamer, I believe you should be able to stand on your own 2 feet, or 3 feet, or 1 foot, because, you know, we don't discriminate around here. I don't care how many feet you have, and figure out their own strategies. That's what I truly believe. But going back to the Pokemon deck building real quick, I'm not gonna lie, when I have an idea for a deck, it takes me days to be able to build it the way that I want for it to actually be able to compete against other players. I'm not gonna lie, it takes me hours upon hours and days upon days to figure out which cards I need to take out, what cards I need to add in, which cards I need 3 copies of, but it feels good when you can actually take the time by yourself and figure out what tweaks you need to make your cards work together and be able to smack other decks around. Let's move on to lack of passion. This is my observation. Games back in the PS2 and GameCube era were a lot better and a lot more fun because people who developed those games actually cared about putting a great product on the shelves. The easiest examples are sports games. I loved playing Madden and 2K back in the day, but not only did it feel like I was playing the sport, they actually had a lot of depth in those games and they were a lot of fun to play. Madden 10 and 2K10 was probably the sports games I spent the most time on. They weren't my favorite by any means, but I spent more time in those 2 games than any other sports games. I think I did at least 10 plus seasons in each. Those games were so immersive that it actually felt like I was a GM or the coach of those teams. I was focusing on drafting players, scouting players. I remember coming home from school, be like, oh yeah, we got a game against those fakers, those LA fakers after school. I was always thinking about, my next game and always excited to play it. But nowadays it's just, not so much. I'm being for real. I haven't played Madden in about 5 years. I keep hearing that they have these problems that keep occurring from Madden to Madden, and they don't even care about fixing them. And to me, that just makes me not even want to play Madden. And 2K is just 2K, but games were just a lot more fun back then. And I think it's because of the passion that the developers showcased, and it wasn't just about the paycheck. Now, most gaming developers only care about money, like they're Mr. Krabs or something. People crazy for paying that much money for some virtual players and some virtual cards. Y'all crazy. Like, what the heck? I'd rather spend that money on some real cards. Like, what the heck? Like, people be spending all this money on microtransactions for players and for cards that the servers are going to go down in a few years anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you can actually transfer your currency and your cards or your created player to the new game. You're basically renting these players and these cards for a few years, and you spend all that money. It can't be me. I don't know about y'all, but I work hard for my money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to just fork up $100 for some virtual player cards. Like, what the heck? Like, they wild for that. In today's gaming world, you can tell which gaming developers actually care about their games and actually care about putting a quality product on the shelves, because not only do their games have minimal bugs, but they're a lot of fun to play. And honestly, I've been playing a lot of indie games, and I must say these indie games have been a lot more fun than AAA titles, and that's crazy to think about. Now it's time for the moment you all have been waiting for, the most questionable category that I have on my personal list: updates. Let's talk about it since y'all are impatient. But to me, honestly, lack of passion actually fits into this category as well. Although I do believe updates are good for gaming, it also opens the door for possible laziness. Look, I love how if there's something wrong with the game, or if they want to add more content to the game, that's cool that they can go in and change the bugs or change glitches or add DLC to a game at any time they want. As a gamer, I love that. However, this also means they can release games half-baked and have the nerve to charge $70 for it, possibly $80 for a game that's half-baked.
Hell no!
How about this? You can release games half-baked and I give you like $1.99, and then we can give you the other $68.01 when you're finished. I don't know about you, but that sounds like it's pretty even in my books. I think that indie games utilize updates a lot better than AAA titles do. Like, for example, I've been playing a game called Spell Rogue. That's probably one of my favorite deck building, or in this case, dice building games that I've ever played. I love this game, and it's been out for years in early access, and it just had a full release, I think like two or 3 weeks ago. And the amount of stuff that they added from when it first was in early access to now has been crazy ridiculous, you know, in a good way. You know what I'm saying? With these indie games, it feels like they will change what they need to change pretty quickly, but these AAA titles, you know what I'm saying, you might age like 10 years before they actually change what they need to change, you know what I'm saying? Then they come out with a patch and then they don't even change nothing significant, you know what I'm saying? Those bugs still exist, you know what I'm saying? Bullets be flying over your head, you green release and you still be airballing. You know, I feel like with indie games, they don't do that, you know, so I definitely feel like these small studios definitely take time to actually read the comments from their player base and actually do what they need to do to change what they need to change. Because Spell Rogue, man, if you haven't played that game, you need to play that game. You know, if you love Slay the Spire, play that game. That game is fire. But I definitely feel like indie games do a better job at utilizing the updates than AAA titles. But what do you think? Do you agree with some of my points? Do you disagree with some of my points? Do you have your own points that you want to point out? Let me know. But I do thank you for checking out this rant video. I hope you have a blessed day and stop using aimbots.